Hello again, everybody. It is MFSN's Q&A. We're here again. I feel like we were just here. Welcome back, me, and welcome back you, if you're here. So I want to remind everybody, if you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, which of course you're going to, and put your comments below. You should also put your comments in the chat if you want me to see them. And if you'd like to come on the show to talk to me, either through video or audio, you go to www.callmfsn.com. Now, when last we left off, I was crafting a trade. And I'm going to tell you what has happened with this trade. Unfortunately, nothing happened with the trade exactly. But I've had to alter my plans. And this is what's going to happen when you're playing fantasy sports. You always have to be altering. Every day is different, because every day shows new results. So I'm going to show you what happened. Here was the player I was trying to trade for. His name is Demontis Sabonis. He is the son of NBA player Arvydas Sabonis, who I watched play courtside. He was a giant. He was 7 feet tall, but he was also huge. Demontis Sabonis, not nearly as big, but he is 6'11", so he's still very tall, but he's not nearly as big. Now, he is, if you look, ranked season average 51, but I'm going to show you what has happened. You know my 14-day rule. 41. He's starting to creep up. And 7-day average, 29. So he's getting better and better, which makes him harder and harder to trade for. So I'm going to go back to the drawing board. What I ended up doing is I ended up pulling the trade that I proposed, and I'll tell you why. I was a little worried that he would think that I wasn't offering enough. Sometimes when you're making trades, you want to make sure you are not lowballing them too much, because that can really upset a trade partner, and then they won't want to trade with you. So I decided to pull it and say, and I even said to him, I realized I'm not giving you enough, so let me rethink it. But going in here, we are looking at his team. Demontis Sabonis is on the bench because he's not playing tonight. But I'm going to look at his overall numbers in here. Now, he's ranked 29th overall. You see at the top, preseason rank, he came in ranked 44th overall. But he's 29th overall in current value. Now, that means if I'm going to trade for him, I need to have some of the numbers add up. To make a plausible trade, it's got to be something like the number 50 player and the number 35 player to get number, well, that might be a little too much for the 29th player, but maybe the number 60th player and the 40th player is good to get a player who's ranked 30th. If you guys have been watching me, you know how much I like 2-for-1 deals. 2-for-1 deals are great because you get the best player and then you're going to be able to add somebody in. Essentially, you can trade equal value, but you're getting more value packed into one spot. And as a result, when you add somebody new, you're getting more than they got. And they don't think of it that way because they're getting more players. Now, a savvy player certainly will. So for me to offer somebody to get Demontis Sabonis, and I want to remind everybody, the reason I was doing that is look at his rebounds. 320 rebounds. Rebounding is my worst stat. I'm not doing too badly. And last week, unfortunately, I lost 6-3, and it was all because of games. What I mean by that is the amount of games played is going to matter. My opponent somehow collected a team that had 48 games in 7 days. I only had 40. It is pretty typical to have around 40. So I actually wasn't watching carefully enough. What I should have done is seen, whoa, this guy's stockpiling games. I need to be careful about this. Now, going into this week, I did something different. I went ahead and did stockpile some games because I was playing another big-time opponent, and this is Ross the Boss. That's who I'm playing this week. Look what's happening. Oh, God. I'm going to tell you why I responded that way. Now, I was all happy because I'm winning 8-1 over Ross the Boss. Now, in fairness to him, he's having some COVID problems this week, and he's been complaining about it quite a bit because he says that our waiver wire system doesn't allow for dealing with COVID. But listen, Ross, we all have the same rules. I knew this too. Maybe I've gotten lucky, but I think I would have adjusted if there were problems. So I don't know. The reason I said, oh no, is I noticed my cousin Andrew, who is the player that beat me, and he's usually my arch rival in these leagues, is winning 9-0 over 19 clickety-clack. which always makes me think of Mary Poppins, but I'm sure that was not what he meant. John, if you're out there, come on and comment and tell us if you meant to talk about Mary Poppins. But since you're not answering, I'm going to go ahead and say that you are. And you know what you need? You need a spoonful of sugar, because that is not good, my friend. Down 9-0. Luckily, I'm up 8-1. And you see, I'm in third place. Ross the Boss is in fourth. If this result holds, Ross is going to get knocked almost all the way back to 500. And let's look at what that'll do to him in the standings. And I'm just showing you what it is that I do when I'm looking around my league, because you learn a lot from looking around the league. You get informed. If Ross it basically goes 1-8 this week, he'll be 42-39. That is going to be the equivalent of sixth place, on the brink of getting knocked out of the playoffs. Now, we do have a comment, and that comment is from my other co-host, Casey Scheinvold. And he says about Ross the Boss, that's he. Don't get confused. When he says he doesn't mean God. He means Ross the Boss. He often complains about the commissioner. Now, I'm glad he's not talking about God, because if God were complaining about me, I'd be in big trouble, as far as I understand. When Ross the Boss complains, it's not quite as bad. So, yes, he does often complain about the commissioner. He says I don't stand up to people, and yet I don't do what he says, which is standing up to him. So that seems weird. In any case, we're going to look back at that, and I'm going to get back to my quest for rebounds after a word from our sponsor, Killcliff.
Oh, look, coming down the runway is Killcliff, the clean energy drink. It's in a brand new can. Oh, look how the colors pop. Boom, boom. Oh, beautiful tan, the front, the back. Gorgeous. Oh, and the flavor, it's still the same awesome taste. I want it in my mouth right now. Oh, so sexy. Go to killcliff.com. Oh, do it now.
And every time we come back, I want to talk in German when I hear this. This is a very good drink, Killcliff. I'm going to drink it right now. Now I have much more energy. Okay. We have another comment, and it's from Ross the Boss. Ross the Boss checking in. Hello, Ross. I'm glad you missed. I think you missed this part of the program when I was talking about our score. I'll just quickly scroll away from that so you don't see it. I understand why you're losing. It's not just because I am the most dominant player in the league. It's also because you're having problems with COVID. I understand. Ross says, I'm afraid of everyone, but here I am talking smack and beating you down on national television. Yeah, the internet is national. I think it's international, actually. He says he's Dr. Manhattan. Casey says, oh, you mean Ross isn't a god? We have, there's a whole discussion that goes on behind the scenes in MFSN, and it is about who's a god and who's not. I know I'm a person, but I'm a butt kicker when it comes to fantasy sports, other than football. And football, I've turned into an okay player. So now let's get back to my quest for rebounds. Do I need to even go after Demontis Sabonis? I am going to check and see what kind of rebounding is out there, just floating on our wire. Who's got 9? This must be. Whoa. Okay, so Steven Adams was just cut. And he was cut in part because look at this. 48% from free throws. Horrible. His point total isn't even that good. His blocks aren't even that good. So he's not the greatest player. He's got a lot of warts. I got to say, I think I'm probably not going to go for him. But when I saw that rebounding, I got excited there for a second. Now, Tristan Thompson, this is probably the same thing. I've said this all along. And in fact, when 19 Clickety Clack came on here and said, Tristan Thompson's got good value, I said, all he does is rebound. And he might score some points, but he's not going to give you any steals or blocks. Well, look here. Looky here, John. We got 0.3 steals and 0.4 blocks per game. You want to see those numbers around 1. Those are way too low to be owned, and that's why his ranking is so low. And in fact, I'm just going to scroll down. I don't see anybody worth even looking into until I get here, 125. Who are we looking at? Otto Porter. Now, he's got an injured designation. Let's check in on him. Otto, how are you? You're not saying much, but that's because you're a picture. All right. Now, he's been ruled out for Wednesday's game. Let's see. He's been out for 2 weeks. I know he's been out. I just want to check in why. Without a concrete timeline for his return. Now, I will tell you this. And Ross the Boss, here's a tip for you. And then I'm going to get to your questions because I see them rolling in. If you've got a COVID problem, one thing you want to do when you have only 1 day for waiver wire is you pick up an injured player and you stash them in your injured list. And that way, when it's time for them to come off, you got an extra player. That's what I did with D'Anthony Melton, who I said we should pick up 2 weeks ago. And I did it. And if I end up playing him against you, you'll know why. Here's a question from Ross. If Drummond goes to the Raptors, do you think Boucher will be part of it? Ross, you are a little more in the know of true NBA than I am. So you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I can't imagine the Raptors giving up Boucher in a deal for Drummond. And, Drummond's, his price tag shouldn't be that hefty right now. He's got a bad contract, relatively speaking, because you got to pay a lot for him. And the question is, are you getting what you need from him? Now in fantasy, Andre Drummond is a different beast. Let's look at what he's like here. In fantasy, look, he's still ranked only 77th, and here's why. It's not just the free throw percentage. Look at the number of free throws he takes. 5.2 a game. They're hacking him, sending him to the line. I think most NBA teams are going to look at Andre Drummond and understand what they're seeing. They're going to, and look, this is why the Cavs got him for so cheap, because he's kind of an old school player in the new NBA where everybody shoots threes. He doesn't shoot threes. He can't hit the free throws. He's a rebounding machine, 13.5 rebounds. So listen, when I say I'm in search of rebounds, I should probably look to Ross the Boss and say, let's work on this. So Ross, let's do it. Let's work on a trade right now. I know that he's out. You need players right now, and you can't get him from the wire because your commissioner won't let you. And I know that's me. But we should make a trade. But I'm going to get to the other questions first, and then we'll jump back to a potential Andre Drummond trade. Another question. Is Marcus Morris Sr., a good streamer this week? It's interesting. For some reason, Marcus Morris has always gotten under my skin. When I was watching the Cavs, when LeBron was there and Marcus Morris was on the Celtics, Marcus Morris was a constant irritant. Here's the thing. He's ranked 103 overall, so he's a decent streamer almost every week. But that's actually not the case if you look deeply into the numbers. And here's why. 95% from free throw. That's a wonderful stat, but it's going to pad your numbers in terms of your value. A guy that's shooting 95% from the free throw line with 2 free throws a game is actually not going to bring you that much value. His point total is good. His 3 points are good, but he does almost nothing else. A little bit of steals. So is he a good streamer, though? I believe they have 4 games this week. So yes, in a week where there's not enough players, you have to understand that a four game player is going to be valuable almost all the time. Here's why. If you multiply 4 times 13.5, you're going to get 54. But if you're playing Luka Doncic, who plays 2 games this week, he's probably going to get about the same amount of points as Marcus Morris. So is he a good streamer, especially if you have a Dallas Maverick? Yes. We got another question. Should I trade Zach Levine for Ben Simmons? Interesting. These are 2 players that are not exactly on my radar. So I'm going to check him out. Zach Levine, ranked 20th overall. 28.2 points again. Wow, this guy has really blown up in ways that I didn't even realize. I mean, I knew he was very good, but 3.6 3-pointers. So listen, I'm going to say no on that because Ben Simmons is not going to be adding up to these numbers. But let me just do my due diligence. I'm going to check the last 14 days. Levine's fading a little bit, but look, his 3-pointers are still huge. Why is he fading? I actually don't know. He's not even fading that much. Let's see about the last 30 days. 17. I mean, this guy's not fading at all. No, do not trade Zach Levine for anything. Listen, Alabama Sweatstorm is in first place right now, and he had a different take on how to construct his roster. It was very interesting, and I've never heard anybody do it. So I'm going to give him a shout out now. The people in our league typically do a little bit more what I do, although I do it even more extreme. It's called stars and scrubs. It's actually kind of a misnomer because what you really want is stars and unknown players who are actually undervalued. You don't actually want anybody who's a scrub, but the point is you come out of the draft knowing that you're going to have some back end guys, and there's going to be a rotation where you slowly build it up. And that's what I did. Alabama Sweatstorm instead decided, and this is because he works in statistics, he decided to do a statistical analysis of the players that he thought were going to do the best. I don't even know what he put into it. Chris, if you're watching out there, you got to come on the show and tell us. You were on last night with Sully and Ross, so I know you've got some time. And you don't even have kids, so I know you've got time. Come on here and tell us either now or next time, how did you figure out these numbers? Because I have to say, let's look at his team. This guy constructed a team of players that I didn't really see coming. We're going to go to the season rankings. And I will get back to that question about Ben Simmons, but Zach Levine is not somebody you're trading right now. He's ranked 11th overall. Colin Sexton, 89. Lonzo Ball, 77. Brandon Clark, not looking as good. Chris Middleton, 14. Siakam at 54 is not a surprise to me. Karl Anthony Towns is at 223 because he was out with COVID for a long time. That has nothing to do with ranking. Jimmy Butler has underperformed. But Tobias Harris, 25. Listen, he's making his bread and butter on this statistical analysis with Zach Levine, Chris Middleton, Lonzo Ball, and probably Pascal Siakam, even though I would have ranked him pretty highly as well. Oh, and Tobias Harris. So very nice job. Now, I'm going to get back to Ben Simmons, and we're going to take a look at whether it's even close, because maybe Ben Simmons has been surprising me too, but I don't think so. 48. It's a good season from him. His free throw percentage is up. Now, we make this kind of distinction all the time on this show. If you're playing in a points league, the percentages don't matter, and that makes Ben Simmons more valuable. There's certain players who are going to be more valuable in certain leagues. In a points league, the percentages don't matter. So a guy like Ben Simmons, his free field goal percentage is great, but that's useless in points leagues because it doesn't happen. His free throw percentage is not a concern. I didn't mean to zoom out there. But now, look, he's not averaging a triple-double, but it's pretty great. You know, he's a great player to have. If you want to deal Zach Levine, you should be getting Ben Simmons and something else. But you know me. I like to get the best guy. Let's jump back for some more questions. Let's see. Kobe White for Devontae Graham. But Ross, by the way, said I said that I was going to try to trade with him, and he said, "You will trade me trash. Waiver wire guys you got." Well, if you look at my rankings, they were waiver wire guys, but they're not trash anymore. Ross, let me show you something. Then we'll get to Kobe White versus Devontae Graham. Are these players actually trash? First of all, these are human beings we're talking about. Give me a break. Don't call them trash. All right. Now, look, my big three, they're doing great. 15, 10, 26. They'll probably do even better. Bobby Portis, took him off the wire. What's he ranked? 58th. Justin Holiday, took him off the wire. What's he ranked? 48th. Enes Kanter, got him off the wire. 56th. Nicholas Batum, got him off the wire. 34th. Zubac, 78. Bridges, 79. Hardaway, 90. These are all hugely good players, Ross. You can rip on them if you want, but I'll just hold on to them and kill you. Let's check on the scores, by the way. Since you're talking some smack, we're going to go do that. While we're checking on the scores, if you haven't already, guys, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below. Ross says all of my offers are bad. That's not actually true. I made an offer to him that he didn't like, and I said to him, I was like, look, you're not going to like this offer, but you're asking me what I will do it for. He wanted to get LeBron. So I was like, well, I'll show you what I'll do it for. He didn't like it, but I'm just saying that's what I'll do. Listen, I will try to make my offers to you better because I want a good trade relationship. You, on the other hand, are just throwing out the insults. But you are down 8-1, my friend. You got some work to do. You think the offers are bad, but these numbers are good. You can ask anybody. All right, let's get back to the last question, which was Kobe White for Devontae Graham. Ross, meanwhile, is a fantastic partner in this. I do want to say. I love to, we spar. Oh, it was Harden, not LeBron. Well, all the more reason for me to offer you something fairly unreasonable if you wanted Harden. Okay, we're going to look at Kobe White, who's not been a player who's really been on my list at all. And look, Ross, this is where you and I differ. I look at numbers. I sometimes win a fantasy sports season, and I haven't even seen a game because I'm raising kids and I'm running around doing podcasts and things like this. But I know the numbers and I know where they apply. It's one of the reasons I'm not as good in football. You cannot look at the numbers and understand what's happening. You got to watch the game much more. In basketball and baseball, you could win an entire season just understanding the numbers, especially in baseball. But Kobe White, he's ranked 149th in average overall. His shooting isn't that great. I'm not seeing a ton to like here. He offers nothing in steals and blocks. His field goal percentage is low. His points are decent, but I'm not sure I would own Kobe White. So now, would I trade him for Devontae Graham? My instinct is yes, but I haven't looked to see what Devontae Graham's doing this year because he's on somebody else's team. And I look sometimes when I'm investigating trades. But let's see. He's ranked 138 overall, but I like him better because he's giving you more in certain categories. His field goal percentage is terrible, and it always is. But the reason I like Devontae Graham a lot more is that he offers very specific things, and that means that when you're trying to manipulate the numbers, when you're in a dogfight, and you've got to decide who you're going to, which categories you're going to go with, Devontae Graham gives you a lot more. He's good in three-pointers. He's good in assists. He's got one steal a game, whereas Kobe White gives you nothing. A guy like Kobe White isn't worth it. If you can trade for Devontae Graham, I would do it. All right, let's see. We got Party Marty in the house. Welcome, Party Marty. How you doing? I almost called you Party like it was your first name. First name Party, last name Marty. He says, "How is Dan tonight?" Let me check. How am I? I'm pretty good. Yeah, I'm good. He says he will offer the same NHL trades to us soon. So are you telling us, Party Marty, that you are going to offer us some bad trades? Well, listen, if there's any sport you can take advantage of me in, it would be hockey, except, listen, I'm starting to feel like in hockey, you can trust the numbers too. I'm finding it to be a very easy game to compete in because it's a numbers game. And that's what I love about fantasy basketball and I love about fantasy baseball. It's why fantasy football drives me crazy. It's not as much a numbers game. And I give people credit who are really good at football because you have to really know the game to do well. Okay, let's get to another. Let's see. Zion Williams would be a top fantasy player if he could rebound. Well, listen, I'm going to say this is something that I do. This is another thing that I do better than Ross. I admit when I was wrong. Zion Williamson has proven me completely wrong. I knew he was going to be a good NBA player, but I didn't think he was going to be a very good fantasy player. And he's really proven me wrong. He's ranked 46th overall. He's got, 60% from the field. He's got decent free throw numbers. He's not going to give you any threes. That's one of the reasons I didn't like him. But here is why he's making his bread and butter. I would have expected him to score, even though 24.4 points is probably a little higher than I expected. Over 20, not a surprise. Rebounds over 6, not a surprise. Assists, here's what I'm liking to seeing. 1 steal a game and close to 1 block a game. And his turnovers are low too. So this guy is becoming a real stud when it comes to fantasy basketball. The one place where I possibly disagree with the comment is that, yes, he does need to rebound a bit more, but It's actually blocks where I want to see him come up a little bit. And if he can get a 3-point shot, it's going to be a nightmare for teams that don't have him. So it's a good topic, though. I like that. Let's see. Healed and Brogdon for Beal. I am getting Beal. Should I press accept? My leaning is yes, but I always check it out. Let's see. Beal, I love the getting the 1 in the 2-for-1 deal. Here's what I'll say, though. If you're getting a 2-for-1 deal in a league like ours, where you don't have the ability to pick up players during the week, you can only pick them up once a week, ask for their worst player back. Even their worst player fills in some numbers, take it. It's basically a 2-for-1 deal, and you can sub out later. So Beal is ranked 10th overall. His numbers are pretty monstrous. Press accept now. I'm not even going to check. Okay. When you got a player this good and you're not giving up anybody ranked in the top 20, go ahead and do it. But let me just make sure I'm not missing something very important. Like, come on. How is Buddy's name spelled? I can never figure out how to look up his name. There it is. 90. Oh, yes. Okay. Press accept. Now. Go. Okay. Buddy Hield. He's a good player. His field goal percentage is terrible. Puts up a lot of points. Doesn't block much. Not a lot of points, but he's a valuable player. But, I mean, unless, let's see, Brogdon has done that well. Brogdon was one of my sleepers, by the way. Not Broaden. Autocorrect. You are not welcome here. No one asked you to come here. Autocorrect. Let's see. Malcolm Brogdon, 30th overall. Okay, so this is not an unreasonable offer, but you should pounce on that Beal part of the deal right away. All right, let's see what else we've got. Brandon Ingram for Trae Young. I get Trae. Press accept. My instinct is definitely yes, but we're going to look at this. I love all these trade talks. This is what I love to do, just analyze trades. And here we're analyzing Trae, not just trades. Trae Young, 64th overall, a bit of a disappointment because he was ranked 9th overall. I felt that was a very high ranking for a second-year player, but he's done very well. His shooting percentage is a little low, but it was worse last year. What I'd like to see is more steals from him. Otherwise, great player. Trae Young, though, for Brandon Ingram. Ingram is not somebody I had much on my radar, and we're always going to be wrong about certain people. I was wrong about him. He ranked 34th overall. You're getting Trae Young. Here's what I'd say to this trade. Brandon Ingram is looking like the better player overall, but let's see how he's been doing recently. Oh, he's been really good recently. Okay. I'm thinking that you probably don't want to make this trade. Brandon Ingram is just looking that good. Now, let me see what he's doing in the last 7 days. Still quite good. Last 30 days, I just want to see how much this is different. So he's been very consistent. He's around mid-30s. He's scoring a ton. He gives you everything. He's got 1 block per game. I'm telling you what, that question is making me think not only do you not press accept, surprisingly, you go out and trade for Brandon Ingram. And I'm going to think about doing that. Yo Philly has, and he won our league last year. But he's getting trounced this year. I don't know what's going on, Ryan. You got to pick up your game. So I could go there and see, because Brandon Ingram is a good player to own. The question is he one that I particularly need? We know I'm looking for rebounds, and he doesn't rebound at all. So he's not the player I'm looking for. Although he does get blocks, and he scores a lot, and that's the other thing I need. The problem is he's just going to cost me too much. I need to look for cheaper options. So I'm going to see if I can offer Ross the Boss something that he thinks is not a horrible offer. Maybe actually a good offer. So who was I looking for on Ross the Boss's team? Al Horford, by the way, has been a great pickup for him. Tyler Hero is playing well. Oh, it was Andre Drummond. That's right. Andre Drummond. Well, let's see. Let's say I'm going to trade for Andre Drummond. So first thing I need to do is assess what is my opponent giving up. Andre Drummond is ranked 69th overall. Terrible in free throws, but I am the best free throwing. What does that mean? Free throw shooting team in the league. Free throwing sounds NC-17. I don't even know if they have that rating anymore. But he gets lots of rebounds, and I can probably afford to take the hit in free throws. He also blocks a lot. So he's ranked 69th overall. Now, here's the thing, Ross. How are we going to add up? I can trade you a player that has a similar ranking like Enes Kanter, and you're going to tell me it's a terrible offer. And I can't even argue with you. I don't think it's a terrible offer. I don't think it's a great offer because we know Enes Kanter's value is going to come down when Nurkic comes back. So I'm not going to insult your intelligence with that. But I do want to say you might not be seeing enough of what's going on my side of this. Like if I offered Bobby Portis for you for Andre Drummond, is that worth it to you? I would definitely never propose it to you. You'd probably be insulted, but I want to show you the numbers. I want to show you what it looks like. Let's take a look. Andre Drummond, by the way, I wouldn't do this deal myself. And I'll tell you why. I'd rather have Andre Drummond, but he has only center eligibility. Those players, that limits your value because I already have two guys who can only play center. And the only places I can play them are center and utility. I can't have three of them or I can't play them at all. That makes him a lot less valuable to me. So Ross, if you're trying to deal Andre Drummond, you should deal him somewhere else. But let's take a look at Bobby Portis. 58% rostered where Andre Drummond is 99% rostered. But if we look at the stats, what are we seeing? Well, Andre Drummond ranked 69th overall. Bobby Portis ranked 58th overall. Bobby Portis is doing this in less minutes. If his minutes go up, he's going to be pretty elite. His shooting percentage is way higher. His free throw percentage is not great, but it doesn't hurt. He hits some threes. He's scoring significantly less points, a lot less rebounds, less assists, but it's pretty marginal with these two guys. Drummond does get more steals and blocks. So I got to say, these players are not far off. If I were to offer you, let's say, Bobby Portis and something else you needed, let's say you needed a three-point shooter, you might make that trade. But let me make this point. It all depends on the context of your team. So, Ross, if your free throws are kind of middling and he's killing you in that, you might want to offload him for some value. It all depends on the context of your team. Now, while I'm analyzing these trades, I just want to remind everybody out there, if you haven't already, click subscribe, hit like if you like what you're hearing, ring the bell for notifications, and put your comments below. We will respond to you personally. You can say, hey, I've got this going in my league. Tell me what to do. We love to tell people what to do. In fact, usually as a therapist in my other job, I sit back and listen a lot, and I'm not supposed to tell people what to do. Here, I get to tell people what to do. This is one of the reasons I'm here. Thank you for satisfying my urge to tell you what to do. But I've been wanting to do this kind of thing for a long time as a fantasy player because I see people doing things that are head scratchers. In fact, I'm going to look at something now and check. And then I'm going to get back to one question. Oh, let me answer the question first. Josh Jackson or Sadiq Bey can only hold one. My instinct is Josh Jackson. Sadiq Bey just really came on my radar pretty recently. Now, he's ranked 244 overall. Don't be alarmed by that because what you really want to see is how he's doing recently. This is a young player. We know I like to do the 14-day rule. 77th overall. This is why Ross picked him up. I totally understand. He was on my radar. Somebody that I might have picked up too. He's getting close to a steal a game. So Sadiq Bey is looking like a pretty good pickup. Josh Jackson is always tantalizing, but bothersome tone. His numbers, 213. First of all, he's playing against San Antonio tonight, so he's worthless there. But let's see. That's because they're postponed because of COVID. Josh Jackson, 153 in the last 14 days. Let's see how he's done in the last month. Maybe he's just, been even worse. How about in the last 7 days? Okay, it's time to keep Sadiq Bey. Josh Jackson this is the reason he ends up on the wire all the time. Let's look at the numbers. What's going on that he's got this lower value? I mean, he's got, this is the last 7 days. I need to really look at his overall value to explain. I need to go at least 30 days. 237. Why? Well, both of his shooting percentages are on the low side, not great. His 3-point is kind of average, maybe a little bit better than average. His points, maybe a little better than average. His rebounds are low. His assists are low. His steals are low. Blocks are pretty good, actually. And his turnovers are fine. He's just very middling. I'm not sure why he ends up with that ranking, though. Let me see what he's done the last 30 days total, because those rankings tend to be actually a little more accurate to value in terms of what's actually happening. Average can be skewed sometimes because people missed games, or you got to make sure to check both. So he's 176 overall. And you look at his numbers, he seems like he should have a better ranking than that. His turnovers seem to be way up this month. Let's see what he's doing for the season. Anyways, keep Saddiq Bey. Now, where was I? We're going to look at some players. Oh, we got a question coming in. It is from Conman719. I'm happy to answer your question, but I'm not going to buy anything from you, I think, based on your name. Hey, man, can you help me out with trade targets? I'll send you my team. Absolutely. Wait, I think you're not Conman. You might be Cornman. I totally read that wrong. And that changes the picture entirely. Now you're somebody that I want to buy corn from. All right. So he's mentioning Davis, and he's talking about Anthony Davis, is not out for the year. He's out 3 to 4 weeks because Ross the Boss was asking his AD out for the whole year. Now, Ross actually knows better than that. What he's doing right there is he's setting you all up for a beautiful question. I appreciate that, Ross. So, Cornman is right. Davis is not out for the year. He's out 3 to 4 weeks. By the way, welcome, Cornman. Thank you for watching. And Ross just called him Cormman. We're getting your name wrong, but we still love you here. And if you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, and put your comments below. And I'm happy to answer your question. You can send me your team anytime. I love it. Now, he's asking, what are some good trades involving me trading away Chris Middleton and Westbrook? Okay, now we looked at Middleton earlier tonight. I think he was ranked like 14th overall. So you can get some huge value for Chris Middleton. The question is, should you? He's ranked 24th on the season in average. Season total, though, 14. Let's see how he's doing lately. Because if you're trading with a smart trade partner, they're going to check these things out anyway. Don't expect them to just miss that. In the last 30 days, he's ranked 46th overall. Okay. Cornman, here's what I need to know. What stats do you need? What kind of league do you play in? And why do you want to trade away Middleton and Westbrook? So when I'm looking at Middleton and thinking, why do you want to trade him away? My guess would be that you want to trade him away because you think his value has peaked. You're selling high. When it comes to Westbrook, he's got some holes in his game. His fantasy game. I'm not talking about basketball, but he's got holes there too. Let's look at what he's done. He's ranked 254 overall. That is brutal. It is a brutal ranking. And he's such a strange player to own. He has a bad shooting percentage and a bad free throw percentage. He doesn't hit threes. Certainly not as much as he used to. He's scoring a decent amount of points. His rebounds are fine. His assists are great. His steals are fine. Blocks are low, and his turnovers are terrible. So he's become a pretty bad fantasy player. So I could see you wanting to trade both of these guys, but for very different reasons. So let me know if I've got the right idea, Cornman, about that. Here is the feedback. I am in a league that uses categories. I'm not sure. I'm in a 10-man league, and I need rebounders, three-pointers, and high percentage shots. Okay, well, after playing Westbrook all that time, I certainly understand. If you're looking for high percentage shooters and rebounders, you're looking for a big man who shoots threes. So let's look at who you can get. We're going to go to players. We got to go to all players because this is with the guys you're trading, or at least with Middleton, you're going to be trading for somebody that is owned. And I want to let's look at the last 30 days here. Big men who shoot threes. Now, Curry, not a big man, but his shooting percentage is very high the last month. So if you can get Curry, it would be great to do. I don't think you'll be able to get him for Middleton and something else. But if you can, I would try. It has to be Middleton and a very valuable piece if you're going to trade. He's the number one player over the last 3 weeks. Jokic is a big man, get in the rebounds, and he hits some threes, but I don't think he's your target because I think he costs too much. And you were looking for Porzingis. Excellent choice. Yes. So you read this just like I did. Let's see where he ranks, but I'm just going to scroll through and see some other options. Vucevic would be a decent get. You know, he's got 43s in the last month, and he rebounds like crazy, and he's a great player, but he's ranked 6th overall, so you're going to have to give up a lot. So let's scroll down just a little bit. Let's see. Porzingis, number 12. Okay, I really like the way you're thinking about this, Cornman, because you're looking at a reasonable get. You could offer, for example, exactly the trade you're looking for, Chris Middleton and Westbrook for Porzingis, and you could see if the player bites. Are they going to? My guess is they wouldn't, but, you know, it's something they can counter with. Let's look at how they're doing overall. Give me 1 second. I'm just checking how much time we have because I want to make sure to get you what you need. Okay, season total. Where's Porzingis in this? If I look in season total, Porzingis is going to be way down because he was injured for so long. So that's actually not the helpful way to look at it. Let's go back to 30 days if we're looking at Porzingis. I love that deal for you. Very, very smart. You must be a very smart fantasy player. So, I think you're going to need to offer something probably a little bit more. If you want to start with your best offer, I would say do Chris Middleton, but don't try Westbrook. Try to put Westbrook in a different trade. Put Chris Middleton with somebody who has a ranking maybe about 70. You know, because then you got Middleton, his ranking is 24th overall. You got another good player coming with it, and you can get Porzingis, and I think that's a great target. Let's see. Who else might qualify? Miles Turner doesn't hit enough threes for your purposes. Brandon Ingram doesn't rebound. So now we're getting to... Well, interesting. LeBron James would probably cost you too much, but if you wanted to try LeBron James, he might not be a bad target for you. He's got a good shooting percentage. He does a fair amount of rebounding. You know, obviously I don't have to sell LeBron James to anybody. Now Cornman is telling me who he's got on his team, and he has LeBron. So you can't trade for LeBron because you own him. But I would keep him. This is a 10-team league, remember, and it's a category league. Cornman, let me know if it has turnovers. That makes it a 9-category league if it has turnovers. It's an 8-category league if not, and it just changes the picture a little bit. I'm going to assume 9-category because that's usual. And he says it's his first year in this, but hey, you're doing a good job. At least with your trade assessment, you had the right idea. Here's who he's got: LeBron, Embiid, Morant, De'Aaron Fox, Westbrook, Middleton, Lou Williams, Harrell, Oubre, Kuzma, DeJounte Murray, Richaun Holmes. Any holes I need to fill? All right. It doesn't have turnovers in it. Okay. Well, that makes certain players even more valuable. Like LeBron in a league where turnovers don't matter is great. And actually, Westbrook is more valuable in a league that doesn't have turnovers because that's one of his major weaknesses. Well, that's good. So I'm looking at your team, and it looks pretty solid to me. I wonder how you're doing in your rankings, because that's a way that you can assess how you're doing compared to your team. But just eyeballing it, you've got a pretty good team. I would be looking to upgrade a spot, especially in a 10-team league. So if you can pull off this trade and you turn Westbrook and Middleton into Porzingis and something from the wire, let's remember, in a 10-team league, you're going to be able to get very, very good things on the wire. So I would say you want to look for a 2-for-1 deal. It doesn't have to be Middleton, but he does provide a lot of value. You might deal, let's see, Lou Williams is hot here, 2, 6, and 1 and pretty bad. Okay, well, I will say my eyeballs are used to a 12-team league. If your team was in a 12-team league, you'd be looking a lot better. What's happening is that you are in a 10-team league, and that means that your top players should be even better. And listen, it's your first year, so you're going to be learning. But you got a lot of good players, and you got a lot to work with. So what you need to do is look at your categories. Find out which categories you're losing. It sounds like you're in a league where you either win or you lose each week, and that's it. Because in my league, you actually win by categories. So if you win 8-1 and then you win the next week 5-4, it's 13-5. You are just amassing a win or a loss. So you got to concentrate on winning 5-4. If your team's not that good, you can find ways to win 5-4. Make 2-for-1 deals, pick up smart players on the wire. Feel free to come back here and make comments. Let us know. I'm happy to weigh in. I love talking to people who are learning the game. And I remember what it was like when I first came in, and I had so much to learn when I played in a baseball league the first time I came in. And I learned very fast. You can learn fast. And I encourage you, keep coming back. Love your name too. And Cornman, if you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We can help you out. We can turn you into a fantasy monster. That's what we do on MFSN. And I'm very excited to do it with you. If this isn't the year for Cornman, next year is the year for Cornman. We're going to take another question here. We've got Lucius Varenus 44. How viable do you think Rubio is going to be with Russell being gone for 4 to 6 weeks? Seeing him and Josh Jackson on my waivers in a points league. Thanks for the help as usual. You are welcome, and thank you for watching. We appreciate our return customers as well. And Cornman, I hope you will be one of them. So I would say, yes, Cornman, you did press subscribe, and you'll come back. Love to hear it. And remember, if you want to come on the show, you can do that. You can come on video or audio, www.callmfsn.com. Okay, Lucius, back to your question. Josh Jackson, not one that I'm in love with on the wires, but it is a points league. So I understand that may be different. I'll take a look and see what that means because his percentages are not that good. So actually, he might be good to get. I think that Rubio, though, is likely to be an even more attractive addition. And I'll tell you why. Now, his shooting percentage is always horrendous. It's usually under 40%. But in a points league, that doesn't matter. Now, his free throw percentage is usually good, so that helps. So that also doesn't matter. He doesn't get three-pointers. This is, by the way, is his season average. That's not what I would be looking at. I want to look at his play now, and it's partly because of what Lucius said. Cornman's saying he just tried a Westbrook and Middleton for Porzingis. If that's good, I think it is good for you. I think you should definitely go for it. Let us know. Come back next week. Tell us how it worked out. Okay, so actually, I'm starting to rethink this, but Rubio, with D'Angelo Russell out for as long as he is, he is great for assists, great for steals. He doesn't even get a lot of turnovers. His points are not great. I mean, well, look, they're bad, but they're not horribly bad. He does contribute something, and that includes three-pointers. In a points league, though, and it really depends on how deep your league is. Lucius, I'm guessing that you're in a 12-team league, 12-team points league, based on the players that are out there. Let's look at Josh Jackson from a points league perspective. All right. Josh Jackson points. So we know his percentages are terrible. But, okay, listen, Lucius, it's going to depend on what you need. If you need the assists, grab Rubio. If you need the points, grab Jackson. And that's what it's going to come down to. Steals, also Rubio. I'm going to give the edge to Rubio if you have to go with one or the other. 810 Pro Wrestling says, hello there. Hello, my friend. Party Marty's partner in crime in his wrestling podcast. And he often joins us in comments, and we appreciate you being here too, sir. Thank you so much. Now, let's see if we've got any other questions. And we're going to need to wrap up shortly, it looks like. So, any more questions out there? It's last call, guys. Last call. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. We're going to look into all of these things that we're talking about. How to make trades, how to evaluate which players to value. What I was going to get into, and I didn't get to this time, but I will next time, is the head-scratching moves some people make. Why do they own certain players? Russell Westbrook, starting to get there. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been a blast as always. I want to remind you, if you haven't already, do what Cornman does. Click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and I'm sure you do. And put your comments below. We got one last comment from 810 Pro Wrestling. Thank you. Glad to stop by. If anybody did not know, Shaquille O'Neal is going to be wrestling March 3rd. I'm not joking. Wow. I heard it here first, and hopefully you did too. Shaq, man, the big Aristotle. I still remember when he said, my game is impossible to stop. It's like the Pythagorean theorem. And Rich Eisen said, one hesitates to tell him the answer is C squared. We'll sign off with that, guys. Thank you for watching. This has been a blast. I will see you next week. Same time, same place.
Buy any case of Gilcliff, the clean energy drink, and get dinner for two on the moon. Go to Gilcliff.com. Offer valid, totally valid. Transportation to the moon not included. Dinner not to exceed $50 or moon dollars, whichever is less at the time of redemption. We have no idea what the currency exchange rate is on the moon. We totally made that part up. They sound cool, but there's no such thing as moon dollars. But it would be neat if there were. Gilcliff, big on huge in space, created by a Navy SEAL for people who aren't Navy SEALs. The official energy drink of Space Force and other people who aren't Navy SEAls. The biggest no-brainer in the history of drinks.